You got to kick it off with a killer to grab attention. Then you got to take it up a notch.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us.
Who are you? I'm Shiva, the god of death.
Cells. Interlinked.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
Folks, welcome to Debaser, a film podcast. I'm Jared Rusk, and I'm joined by my co-host Will.
Akira.
On this show, we explore both new and familiar movies as we attempt to analyze and interpret them, all in an effort to debase the films and ourselves. And Will, there's still a strike.
There is still a strike.
We're still patiently waiting on the major Hollywood studios.
There's actually more strikes now. There's
the UAW is on strike
the
now.
The UAW is on strike.
The United Auto Workers. That's right.
And the VFX teams for Disney is voted to unionize unanimously.
Yes, that's so great.
Yeah, I think that honestly, the Disney will benefit from it in the long run.
Absolutely, because I know adjacently a couple of people that work on VFX in the Disney movies, and it sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah,
it sounds hellish.
So
and it has been, for 30 years.
I mean, you can see the, like, even with the, even with the Lion King remake where everything was like photorealistic and stuff like that, there is other parts of their media that suffers from it. For every Lion King and all the sea life that we get for The Little Mermaid or whatever, we have Thor 3 or 4 and Quantumania.
Well, and even then, it's not necessarily the quality of the product as much as like you find out that there are people working, 80, 100-hour weeks. Yeah,
sleeping at their desks.
Exactly.
Going home, sleeping for like 2 hours and then driving back.
Right. And this is a big topic in the video game industry as well, because they, like Rockstar and Naughty Dog are really bad about this, where they just overwork their employees to get a game out. And, it's a massive game. It makes billions of dollars. But then their employees, lost years of their life to animate a horse's testicles, essentially,
Really?
Yes. That was a real thing on Red Dead Redemption 2.
Like this horse nuts and...
Yeah, there's a realistic... I won't get into it.
No, I love it. That's great.
Well, because there's a strike, we're exploring alternative films to talk about for the show. And we previously did our first anime, Ghost in the Shell.
Yep.
Which I thoroughly enjoyed it. You had watched it before, right?
I had not seen the movie.
I'd watched
the anime.
That's right. You watched Standalone Complex.
That's right.
So it was a first for both of us. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I forgot the second anime is called Second Gig. Or no, Standalone Complex.
That's
the
the TV show.
Hold on. There's another one. Fuck. Is it Second Gig?
I think Second Gig is right.
That is the other one. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I remember like not name dropping it. I was like, I've watched the other one.
Yeah, we didn't say
the
it.
name. It was Second Gig. So okay. Anyway, sorry.
So we watched our second anime for today's episode. Which was probably the most well-known anime film that might be in contention now, because this film is from the 80s.
Yes.
And now we have your Miyazaki films. We have like Weathering with You.
So this is what I'll say. When it came to, because I listened to a few things about Akira before,
and like it's a legacy and stuff.
Legacy thing. Akira paved the way for other studios to release anime films in the West and like them become successes.
Right. It kind of helped it become more mainstream.
Yeah, because like before that, you did have Miyazaki films. I believe Nausicaa came out the same year or the year before Akira, but with Ghibli, you have very wondrous, fantastical worlds. Ghibli is oftentimes compared to be the Disney of Japan,
which didn't help when Disney, ended up buying the distribution rights in America and then re-releasing them.
But like when you think Miyazaki, you think, My Friend Totoro, you think The Cat's Return, Howl's Moving Castle, all that other stuff, right? And these movies are, I'm not going to say bland, they are fantastical. They're more about the storytelling, and they are easy for general audiences.
Right.
And then Akira comes out in 1988 and had a limited release in the States in 1989, and kind of changed the game, because Akira, like, it's not smooth. It's rough around the edges when it comes to like like the way the characters look.
I raised an eyebrow there because I was like, actually, I disagree. This movie's incredibly smooth. The animation is so smooth.
Yeah, the animation and
Yes.
the world building and all of the effects are very good looking, very beautiful. I'm just saying, like the characters are kind of heinous. Like Reiko, who is Tetsuo's girlfriend, she's really rough looking. They're all rough looking.
Well, not only that, they're Tetsuo and Kaneda are incredibly rude to their girlfriends.
This is true.
Not hardly anyone in this film is a saint.
No,
and like you said, they're all rough around the edges.
they're all rough.
They're tough people in a tough time in a tough city.
Right. But the big difference between Akira and any of the Miyazaki films that came out prior, maybe Grave of the Fireflies. Grave of the Fireflies did deal with a lot of dark subject matter, but Akira had insane amounts of violence in it,
and it's harder edged, compared to most.
Grotesque at the end. There's a lot of destruction, death.
I mean, it opens with essentially a nuclear explosion.
Yeah, and but like this was something that the U.S. audiences had not seen before, because this is once again during the 80s. Like, if you think about stuff that was coming out during that time, I think Beauty and the Beast comes out a year before or after this one. Shortly after this movie came out, I want to say that in '92 we had The Little Mermaid. Like, if you think about animated films that are out during the 80s, American Tail, Land Before Time, all that stuff, Don Bluth stuff, and the Disney Renaissance.
Right.
You put Akira in there, is drastically different from everything else.
Right.
And this movie made $2.2 million in its limited US release in the 80s, in 89, which I did the inflation thing because I wanted to see what that would be. It's $4.9 billion that it would have had if this happened today or whatever.
Right. In modern,
right. So the reason why I bring this up is because not shortly after that, one of the studios that was involved with making Akira was also tied to making Ghost in the Shell and making sure that Ghost in the Shell came. That's the reason. This movie is the reason why that translator only had 2 weeks.
Right.
Because they wanted to have a US release, because there was a market there that they had not originally known was going to exist. So like I think that's the reason why a lot of people refer to this movie as like the grandfather of anime, even though animation had been happening prior to this. Like, we had Mobile Suit Gundam in 79. By, I want to say 83, we had Char's Counterattack, which is a movie. We had Robotech. I think, we had, early Dragon Ball. We had anime. Right. But nothing was this successful
overseas
until then. And then that's when the boom, started happening. Like, more and more people, anime kind of got more mainstreamed in a way, like as best as you could in the 90s. But that's how we got Ghost in the Shell released in America. I'm sure that's what started to really let other things trickle in, like DBZ and Sailor Moon and Pokemon and all that other stuff. So you really got to look back at this movie as like an appreciation for what we have now.
Right. Absolutely. Well, yeah. So our film today is Akira. It came out in 1988.
Yep.
Akira is available to stream on Hulu and Funimation, but I highly recommend obtaining a physical copy of the Blu-ray to appreciate the fluid animation, because streaming just can't deliver. Streaming can't.
It can't. When we do start talking about the animation, I was like, this is fluid, but this isn't what I thought it was. And I do believe it's because the streaming, you lose quality.
You do. Streaming just can't match, physical media quality, especially in animation. It is most obvious with animation, like especially if you've never seen a 4K Blu-ray of a movie. If you get an animated film, it's a night and day difference. Whereas, if you're taking HDR out of it, if it's a live action film, maybe you don't notice it right away. Right. But animation benefits the most from physical media.
Did you watch it physically?
Yes,
you've got a copy.
I have the Blu-ray.
That's why you were like, "Hey, you should come over and watch it."
Yeah, that's why I offered it to you. Yeah,
I should have taken you up on the offer.
Do you want to borrow it and take it home?
No, it's okay. I know how fluid it is. I can understand how.
No, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. I bet.
That's why when you asked me, like, did you like it, and I was like, I like it. I don't love it, but what I like about it is how
all the
fucking
animation.
good it looks.
Yeah.
Like even if I don't care or understand what's happening,
Yeah.
it's just vibes.
No, it's all.
You just look at it and you're like, this is sick.
I know.
So the brief synopsis of Akira is. Oh, come on, that was close.
That
right?
was close.
Okay. A secret military project endangers Neo-Tokyo when it turns a biker gang member into a rampaging psychic psychopath who can only be stopped by a teenager, his gang of biker friends, and a group of psychics. The film is directed by Katsuro Otomo.
Yep.
Hey, all right.
You got that one.
Written by Katsuhiro and Izo. Hang on, that's the same guy. Sorry.
Yeah, Katsuhiro wrote the manga and wrote the movie.
Yeah.
I think he directed it too.
The film is written by Katsuhiro and Izo Hashimoto.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'd have to look at it, but that sounds like you said it right.
Katsuhiro is the original creator of the manga and has had a prolific career as a manga writer. He has one other full-length anime feature called Steam Boy, and he also directed a short Gundam film entitled Mission to the Rise.
I've never seen that.
I was curious to know if you knew
Mission
that
to
at
the
all.
Rise.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm going to look and see what century that one is.
Because I looked at his credits and I was like, oh, I wonder if Will knows about this Gundam short he did. But yeah, most of his credits are just shorts. He did one other full-length anime after this that I have never heard of, Steam Boy.
Yeah, I've never heard of that too.
And I was shocked that he didn't have like a huge career. It's mostly just manga.
I'm checking it out right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, that's usually what happens with manga writers. They don't normally take the leap to the.
I was
next
shocked to
thing.
see that he directed this too. Yeah, because does that happen a lot? I mean, good lord.
Oh,
That's
I think this isn't. There's no way this is animated. This definitely looks like a manga, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's like an animated comic. No, it's a short CGI movie that's like 5 minutes long. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, I've never once seen this or even heard of it.
I cannot vouch for its quality. I just saw it on his credits.
Right.
And it caught my eye. Yeah,
it's okay. I mean, dude, if it came out in the 90s and it's CGI and it's Gundam, I'm probably gonna hate it. But that's not a knock on him. I don't like CGI in my Gundam.
1998.
I'll die on that fucking hill.
Hey, it's only 5 minutes long, so
yeah,
can't waste too much of your life
No,
watching
that's
it.
true.
I guess.
You can't. Sorry, where were we?
The film had a budget of $5.7 million. It was in yen, but I'm converting this to dollars.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And it grossed $49 million worldwide.
That's a success if I've ever heard one.
It made a killing international. It was like you were saying, it was a huge international hit.
Yeah, it was an awakening
right.
for a lot of places. The guy that I originally put me on the train of wanting to watch Akira,
right?
He went to a cousin's house when he was like 8. He lives in Ireland, and his cousins had a taped German copy of Akira. Yeah,
I was say that's how most people saw this film. Was like a friend had a friend of a friend even had a VHS tape of it. And they're like, "You ever seen this movie? It's fucking sick."
Yeah, it's wild.
And then you see like Akira, Ninja Scroll.
Yeah, Ninja Scroll, because Ninja Scroll used to play on Sci-Fi and IFC.
Yeah,
all the fucking time. Yeah,
and then Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell. Yeah.
So some trivial facts about this film.
Let's hear it.
I want to drop just a couple. Tetsuo, film's antagonist, translates to Iron Man in Japanese.
That's really neat.
So I knew that Tetsuo means Iron Man because there's another film.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was going to ask.
Tetsuo the Bullet Man.
So hold on, when did that come out?
Ooh,
I want to know
late 90s, early 2000s.
I was like, I want to know which one is the homage to the other.
I don't know if it's an homage.
Because you're talking about the one where the guy becomes a machine, right? And he has like a drill dick.
Fucked.
Yeah, it is fucked. Fucking thank you, Michael Blackman.
I did not appreciate watching that. Oh, did I watch it because of Michael Blackman too?
There's a good possibility. He came over to God, this was back when me and Haley were living with our mom.
It was a year after this.
Yeah, I fucking bet,
God.
dude. That's crazy.
I know there's been a lot of like sequels and remakes too.
I wonder if they're buddies. Now, I'm sure like Tetsuo's like it's actually an homage to Iron Man, the American Iron Man, but it could also be like a tongue in cheek because he's got like a metal arm towards the end, or something along those lines.
So it does feel like it's foreshadowing that he becomes like part machine or part metal at the end.
Yeah.
Protagonist of our film is named Kaneda. Kaneda.
It does sound like Canada, but don't say Canada.
Kaneda. I'm gonna try and get this right.
Okay.
The scene with our protagonist, Kaneda's bike, coming to a sliding stop as it moves away from the camera, has gone on to become one of the most referenced scenes in animation. everything from Batman the Animated Series, The Simpsons, Samurai Jack, Star Wars.
Nope.
What?
Nope.
The film Nope.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Because I saw an interview with Jordan Peele where they were like, "Oh, so you like managed to get like a shot of the Akira slide in your film?" And he just starts laughing. And he's like, "I got to do it, man."
Yeah.
I love him. And even Pokemon does it. I think it's
Officer Jenny does it.
yes, Officer Jenny on her
Yep,
bicycle.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Damn.
Now that you've seen it,
Yeah.
you're gonna notice it all the time. It's like the Wilhelm scream, or
And it
another
happens
thing.
so early in the movie too.
yeah.
It's kind of crazy. I was like, oh hey, I was doing the Leo meme. Oh hey, there's the slide.
The movie consists of 2,212 shots and 160,000 single pictures, which is 2 or 3 times as many as the typical anime film.
And you notice it when you have a Blu-ray or something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
because the frames per second, I don't know if it's FPS or if it's because it's different for animation.
yeah.
So most movies, live action, are 24 FPS.
Yes.
And in anime, I believe they tried to do 15 or 30. What are they doing?
I want to say it's 15.
Yeah.
And the real reason why is because once again, I listened to the thing today.
Okay,
So
perfect.
apparently this movie was pushing 22 to 24 frames per second.
Right, which is way
Significantly
more than
higher.
they typically do for hand-drawn animation because it's so difficult.
Exactly. When you compare it to
Right.
Nausicaa was that came out roughly around the same time.
Right.
That movie was not pushing
Right.
that high, and Ghibli movies are beautiful and
Right.
fluid. So like they really wanted to push the limit with this film, and you can see it, especially in like certain scenes when there's snake-like wires
Right.
attaching to stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's nuts, the attention to detail.
When Tetsuo's expanding, it's so great.
There were 7 production companies working on this film.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I was surprised at how low the budget was. Every dollar is on the screen easily.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But I'm guessing because of inflation, it just feels small to me too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, I tried to just cover what I think are the basics. So I left some things out. So what I'll do is I'll just read this
Yeah.
and then we can start from the beginning
Sure.
and talk about stuff. So if you felt like I missed something,
Yeah.
let's just bring it up later and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Because I definitely felt like it was like hurting me to write this without adding extra details.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this
there's
movie.
there's a lot.
Yeah.
You ain't lying.
I mean, I texted you and I was like, dude, this movie's heady as fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And I've seen it twice now, and I feel like I got a much better grasp of it. But again, I read that like the manga makes it make way more sense. In fact,
Yeah.
one of the reviews I was reading was like, you basically can't comprehend this without reading the manga while watching it. Because they are throwing a lot. And when I was reading another recap, I was like, oh, I missed that.
yeah.
Okay, here's the summary of the film. In 1988, a large explosion destroys much of Tokyo. 31 years later, Neo-Tokyo is a city plagued with corruption, protesters, terrorism, and gang violence. The Capsules, a teenage biker gang led by Kaneda, our protagonist, battle on the street with a rival biker gang. Kaneda's envious best friend Tetsuo is injured during the battle when he crashes into a psychic child escaping government forces. Tetsuo is abducted by the government forces as they discover that he is developing his own psychic powers. The researchers studying 3 other psychic children they have in captivity note that Tetsuo is similar to Akira, an entity that was responsible for the explosion in Tokyo. Tetsuo escapes captivity and meets up with his gang and girlfriend, but he is frustrated and plagued by headaches and visions of the future. Tetsuo is then again abducted by the government. Kaneda joins an anti-government resistance movement that seeks to free the psychic children so that they may rescue Tetsuo. The other 3 children with psychic powers attempt to kill Tetsuo, fearing his destructive power, but Tetsuo thwarts them and decides to hunt down Akira after learning that it may be the only thing that can help him. Tetsuo begins rampaging through Neo-Tokyo, fighting off tanks and other military forces as he approaches Akira, which is buried in a protective military bunker under an Olympic stadium. Meanwhile, the military officer in charge of the psychic research begins a coup d'etat against the government while also leading forces to stop Tetsuo. It's at this point in the film I turned to my wife and said, there is so much happening in this movie.
You know that they had to shorten so
Oh,
many
they
different-
truncated a lot of the
Yeah.
story, yeah, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Tetsuo reaches Akira with ease and opens the containment only to discover small containers with organs, the remains of Akira, another powerful psychic child. Kaneda, armed with a laser rifle, reaches Tetsuo. Intent on murdering his friend to stop his murderous rampage, Kaneda and Tetsuo do battle. Eventually, Tetsuo is injured and in an effort to rebuild his destroyed arm, merges with discarded debris. Tetsuo is unable to control his abilities, though, and begins to morph into an ever-growing mass of flesh and nerves as he engulfs Kaneda, his girlfriend, and even the entire Olympic Stadium. Akira, now in a sort of physical form, creates a singularity which engulfs Tetsuo and Kaneda. The other 3 psychic children, watching from a safe distance, decide to save Kaneda and sacrifice themselves by entering the singularity and teleporting Kaneda back outside the stadium. Within the singularity, Kaneda experiences Tetsuo's early childhood and their bonding. The singularity, similar to a nuclear explosion, leaves a large crater in Neo-Tokyo, and Kaneda rides off into the sunrise.
Yeah, that's the movie, but with a lot of
As a truncated version of the film.
A truncated version of a truncated version of the manga.
Yes. So this film opens with, and set in 1988, the year the film was released.
Yes.
And we see what appears to be a nuclear explosion in modern day, well, at the time, modern day Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no explanation given. There's not an info dump here.
No, it just, boom.
And then it jumps 30 years to 2019
mm-hmm.
into this, like, I think calling it a cyberpunk city is maybe embellishing a little bit. It's not quite cyberpunk, but there's a little bit of that to it.
It's got the neon advertisements. Right. It's got all the like cities on top of cities on, like, it's like a stacking
we have
kind of thing.
Humongous skyscrapers of apartment buildings and such, but there is lots of rubble. The streets are decayed. There's constant demonstrations and protesters on the streets, clashing with like police or government forces.
People getting shot like left and right.
Yeah, there's violence everywhere. This teenage gang violence seems to just be an accepted daily routine.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see this Neo Tokyo, which is what it's called. When I was reading a different synopsis, it explains that the explosion in 1988 led to a Third World War.
Oh, like it was like a false flag kind of thing?
It didn't explain further than that, and I'm sure the manga goes into this.
Oh, I'm sure.
So we're only going to evaluate the film, obviously.
Neither of us have the time to read.
But they don't explain
especially
this.
Not me.
But this is not explained in the film at all.
It's not necessary.
We just see an explosion go off.
Yeah, it's to set the tone.
And then we jump 30 years. And then later we learn that Akira, who we learn was another psychic,
like the first psychic,
I think, caused the explosion.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Oh, what I was going to say is, man,
yeah,
it's hard to get there. So Akira and Tetsuo are two sides of the same coin, right? Akira, I believe, caused the explosion like that in a means to get rid of himself because he saw what he could become.
Okay.
Whereas Tetsuo is drunk with power
and let his powers overtake him, essentially.
It's the first time that he has ever felt strong in his life, and
he just embraced it wholeheartedly to the point where it overtook him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the three kids kind of give him a warning of like it's kind of like the Captain America thing. When you get the super soldier serum, you can either be hot Captain America or
right. It essentially like magnifies your character already. Yeah. I think was the point of.
Yes,
the first Avenger.
Yes, but the problem is I think regardless, your power is always going to continue going, mm-hmm. right? And so instead of turning into this fleshy mass that consumes all, Akira blew himself up to just do a small. I mean, obviously, there's going to be loss of life, but it's not nearly like world consuming like Tetsuo is going to end up being, right?
So, and that's why, because I thought when we see the research facility and we see the little capsules of Akira's body parts, mm-hmm. what's left of him.
Yes.
I thought that the government blew him up to stop him from becoming too powerful.
I don't think a nuke would have done it. Because they hit Tetsuo with a fucking sun cannon.
Okay. What was cool? the soul?
It's a space laser.
So we got to jump in here.
Yeah.
So near the end of the film, while Tetsuo is,
he's pulled out.
Has he gotten to a?
Yeah, he got to Akira and he's pulled the vials out.
Him and Kaneda are fighting.
Yes.
And the government is also trying to attack Tetsuo.
Yes.
And they just the general or whatever. What's his name?
He was the I don't think he was a general, but he was like something else.
He's like a military colonel that's in charge of like this wing of the military that's like supervising the psychic like research, and also he later decides to lead a coup d'etat against the government when they decide to arrest him for getting carried away. He's obviously like doing way too much, and I understand why they wanted, like, they're like criticizing him in the beginning of the film, saying like, you're running away with way too much money, you're doing crazy shit, and he ends up leading to the destruction of Neo Tokyo, and he probably was the reason for the first one to begin with. Anyway, we also see that all the people that he wants to arrest are corrupt as it is, so like nobody's good here.
No.
But he's when he yells at the soldiers, he's like, "Put your guns away! Can't you see we're just fighting each other? You're puppets of capitalists and imperialists." And I was like, "God damn, that's a good line." But he's not a great guy.
No, he's not. Yeah, he's just the other. Once again, the same side of different sides of the same coin.
So when he's attacking Tetsuo, excuse me. I mean, Kaneda almost dies in this attack anyway.
This is a large scale weapon.
He orders the soul
system,
and we just see a beam of light come down.
Yeah, it's fucking rad as shit too, because
like so good.
The stat, it's like right before you get hit by lightning. Apparently, you can like see the air like fucking. Yeah.
There's like static electricity and things start to rise up. Yeah, that's how it's dramatized on TV.
Right. So whatchamacallit. So like shit starts going up, and Tetsuo's
there'll be a big like a god ray, essentially like a beam of light.
Yeah, and Tetsuo's like, what the fuck is going on? And then he gets fucking obliterated by this thing, and it doesn't kill him.
Right. I don't know if he like re-emerges himself, or because later he creates a shield to protect him in Kaneda.
I think that he uses all the force he possibly can to keep his body from being annihilated, because it affects the arm that eventually gets shot off. I think that it weakens him so that Tetsuo
because that arm had already been shot by Kaneda's laser rifle.
Just knock it off, but
so then Tetsuo flies up into space. He does like a Superman thing, which we weren't, he is just developing powers as he goes, and he could just do new stuff. And it's like, of course, he's like super powerful. He's getting stronger every 5 minutes. Yeah. So he flies up into space, and we see that it's a giant satellite, like a laser focus. I don't know if it's like a rail gun. They don't explain it. Gun. Okay, well
no, it's definitely like it's using energy to destroy stuff.
Right. It creates like a focused beam essentially.
Yeah, to roast things.
So he flies up to space, sees the giant, it looks like a giant satellite essentially that says Sol, S-O-L, and then it's like some numbers, I think. And he just destroys it. He just starts walking on it and then blows it up.
It's not that he just destroys it too. He makes it continue to fire.
It just starts firing randomly, I assume all over the planet, not just Tokyo. So but we see multiple beams of light in Neo Tokyo,
go boom, boom,
presumably obliterating people left and right. And it nearly destroys a bunch of people even just watching from afar. Yeah. And it's insane.
It's awesome. What's funny is when the soul thing was coming into Earth's atmosphere. And
he destroys it, and then it falls to the atmosphere, and then it's just burning up.
It was very reminiscent of when they dropped a colony in Gundam.
Oh, yeah. It is a beautiful scene because you see the soldiers looking off in the distance as they see the debris just falling in the atmosphere. Yeah. And it's beautiful. Yeah, that's the thing. There is so much happening in this movie.
A ton. It's crazy.
You can't follow all of it, especially the first time you watch it. But you don't. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful to look at.
Like I know we were talking about the beginning of the movie, but we went right to the end.
I know. We need to back up.
But before we do that, if you're gonna watch this movie for the animation. Like the part where Tetsuo rebuilds his arm with mechanical stuff is amazing. The part where he starts losing control and the wires and shit in his arm are starting to like attach to different things.
Yes, when he's sitting in the
throne,
on the Olympic Stadium.
Yeah. Every time something opens up that's pressurized and fog comes out is fucking gorgeous. Every time a laser like beam is deflected and curves around a wall of force is beautiful.
Not only that, like you're pointing out really good scenes, but it's even simpler things.
What, like the lights on the motorcycles, or
that too? But even just the beginning of the film, after our title card and the explosion, we open in the bar where Kaneda is like playing with the jukebox. Yeah, and I just remember sitting there being like, "Oh right, that's why this movie's famous. It looks incredible." Yeah. Like every anime wants to fucking look this good. Oh, it's so great. It's so visually appealing.
There's so much attention to detail to the static images. Everything about this
They
movie
put
is gorgeous.
so much work into this.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So we open up after our explosion, and we realize it's 2019.
Yeah.
You
You were talking about we're just given this explosion with no context, right?
Right.
I believe that the reason why it opens up with the explosion is to set the tone for what we're about to see 31 years later.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with
Absolutely.
the political unrest, these kids who seemingly have no parents.
Because we can imply that this has caused a lot of distress and turbulence in the city, and of course it evokes, Hiroshima and
What we
Nagasaki.
did. Yeah.
When America dropped nuclear bombs on Japan,
Killed like 10,000s of people.
which I don't even have the capacity to get into.
Yeah.
Just one of the craziest things, in history,
Yeah.
period.
I think you said it best when you were like, my summary of this movie is you get this whenever you drop 2 bombs on a country, this is what you get.
Yeah,
This is the result.
the generational trauma
Yep.
that you cause, that you inflict on a country when you do something like that, it's just going to have reverberation effects. I see a lot in this film comments on post-war Japan.
Yes.
So if you're familiar at all with like post-war Japan, like what society was like after the bombings, after World War II, Reconstruction, I think it's called, when
the American
when the American Army occupation, that's it. Interestingly, on that note, one of the stickers on Kaneda's bike, perhaps the most iconic thing in this movie is Kaneda's bike. Everyone knows what that is.
The Akira bike, yeah.
If you've seen it, you will go, oh, I've seen that before. You've seen it in a million places. There's a sticker for the U.S. Air Force
Oh, really?
on his bike, which I found very amusing because my understanding is a lot of Japanese hate the American Air Force. If they're opposed to occupation anyway.
Oh, okay.
Even
Interesting.
modern day with, we still have air bases in Japan.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of Japanese people that are not happy about it because it causes issues.
Yeah.
There have been rapes and murders committed by American soldiers stationed in Japan. And it is a sore subject, to say the least. I don't feel like I can do it justice by really getting into it, but I'll just add that note.
Yeah.
And so
that's
seeing that
interesting.
sticker on his bike, I thought was very interesting.
Yeah.
But the other stickers are like corporations, like Canon, just random things. And I don't know if it's meant to make it look like a NASCAR kind of thing. I don't know how big that was in the 80s. Or if it's just like kind of a tongue-in-cheek detail joke.
I'm pretty sure it's tongue
by the artist.
Like I think because I want to say that Otomo was alive when or his family, what you call it, had been affected by the bombings of Japan.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I know that Kurosawa was like what, 3? Kurosawa was alive, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, he was making movies in the 50s. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Otomo was also alive back when it happened.
Right. Or if not, he was at least growing up in post-war Japan.
Exactly.
So it was very fresh on his mind.
So and like, I think that he's definitely doing a tongue-in-cheek thing because those Kaneda and his gang are a bunch of punks.
Right.
Like, that's their whole thing. They don't give a shit. Tragedies happen every single day. They grew up in an orphanage. They're just being out and loud, and they don't care who has a problem with it.
You saying that, I just realized everybody's an orphan in this film.
Just about.
Like you mentioned it earlier, but it didn't click. I don't think anyone has parents in this film.
Not that I know of, and not that I've seen. Or nobody alludes to it either.
Or at least all the kids that we see.
Yeah, they definitely don't.
They're just in state custody, essentially. They're all at like boarding schools.
Yeah, that have a problem too. Like at the boarding school,
right?
They're all getting yelled at by the teachers are being accosted. They have to answer back to their teachers in a specific way. That kind of stuff.
They're
like it's
very strict.
They're all being how you say, not groomed or punished, but like they're all being assaulted with these rules to make them functioning members of society,
Right.
because it's a state-run, school or whatever. They don't want to continue to have more protesters out there,
Right.
and all the protesters are kind of crazy as fuck too. Like there's a not a gang, but like a group of people who believe Akira to be a god, and one day he will come back and absolve us of all of our sins.
It's
Cleanse
like a
our
cult.
hearts.
Yeah.
It's like a cult, which is hilarious because they all end up perishing during Tetsuo's.
The government wipes them out basically, and then who's left? Tetsuo destroys when he takes the whole bridge down.
But like he's not even trying to do it to them. He's just flexing his power, and
This film does feel like it has a bit of a, both sides are bad. Like the extremes on both ends are too much.
I don't think there is any character in this movie that is a good character except for Kay. I think Kay is the only person. And it's
that's like pure, or
that has done no wrong,
has good intentions. Maybe. Yeah,
and I think that she's gonna end up being, she has like psychic abilities as well towards the end of the film.
Yes, it's implied that she's developing them too. Yeah,
and the kids are okay with that. The 3 psychic kids are okay with that because they see her to be a good soul,
right?
Whereas Tetsuo is obviously troubled,
and
whatnot. So yeah, I think that if you were to be like, oh, there's no good characters. Yeah. There's one, and it's her.
What kind of surprises me is that the kids decide to sacrifice themselves to save Kaneda, because I don't think he's a saint. No, he's not a bad guy.
But he risked his life to save everybody, including like he was trying to save Tetsuo from himself. He gave up his well-being in order to stop an obvious threat.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with like the Colonel. The Colonel survives.
I think maybe it's just an issue with a line in the dub that I saw. The kids say when they're debating what to do, they go, "Oh, he was just an innocent, bystander caught in the crossfire or something." And I remember thinking, no, he drove himself here to kill Tetsuo. Like he's definitely not.
And antagonize him.
Right.
But I think it's he threw himself at Tetsuo knowing that it was probably futile, because he's one dude. Like a whole army isn't stopping him. How's one dude going to stop him? But
and it's personal for him. He even says as much, at least again in my dub that I saw, where he's like, if anyone's going to take him down, it has to be me.
Oh yeah.
And that's why he decides he has to do this, which I think, it's very honorable. Like that's,
yeah. So that's why
it's great. And that's why their fight, you're kind of like, it's not believable that he could actually stand a chance, but it's also because I think Tetsuo's fighting with kids' gloves.
No, I actually think it's the opposite.
So?
I think that Tetsuo is thrown off balance.
Oh, that too, because that's why he's able to shoot him in the first place.
Yeah, he's aggrieved. He's like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Right. He's so shocked that he actually, after everything that Tetsuo's been able to demonstrate that he can do, Kaneda still come out there to fight him mano a mano.
I think it's awesome because like throughout the movie, the director is showing you that Kaneda has no fear. He's jumping onto other people's bikes and kicking them. Mm-hmm. He's stealing hover machines with Gatling cannons on them.
Punk ass, little
he's
gang
fearless, But like when you have nothing left to lose, like you become a fucking an absolute danger. And like this is a guy who's grown up, no attachments, no family, nothing, and he has no fear, and it's neat. Yeah. It's a neat character trait of that guy, even though he's a scumbag.
So those 3 children,
yes, whose names we don't remember.
No, it's not important. One looks like baby Louis Anderson.
Yes, he does.
From whatever that cartoon show was about him as a boy.
It's called Louis.
Was it just Louis?
Yeah.
Okay. Why do they all look old?
I think it's from all of the testing. Because like...
Really?
Yeah, okay, so with Akira being the first, like...
Right, because when we see Akira in physical form, he kind of looks like Astro Boy.
Yeah.
He's just like
he's almost translucent too.
Naked white, little boy.
Yes.
And then Tetsuo doesn't look aged at all. He just has an enlarged head, which might just be like not meant to be abnormally. A large head.
So I think because Tetsuo didn't have any rigorous tests done on him.
And I guess he hadn't developed his powers until he was 14 too.
Yeah. So let's back up just a minute. So there is a theme in this movie that is like, what is the next step of human evolution, right?
Yes.
What if we can become psychic? And this happens a lot in anime. There's a whole thing in Gundam that's the same exact thing. Yeah,
Really?
they're called new types. Yeah,
Oh.
it's like, so when humans move out to space, what will that do to us?
Yeah.
How does a long distance affect human beings? And being able to telepathically talk to each other is like an idea.
That is a very experimental stage of research now, because like astronauts that stay in space for prolonged periods of time,
Yeah.
they study them because it really does change the human body.
Yeah, the musculature and the bones become like
right, and it's
brittle or whatever.
Yeah, it's because the absence of gravity has a very strange and profound effect on the body.
Right.
Anyway,
So, but this is all something that happens in anime a lot. So the idea is like, so what happens to humanity next? Well, what if we become psychic beings? What if we are able to, move stuff with our mind, create force bubbles, all this other shit? Like, what happens then? Well, the first one is obviously going to be tested upon, right? They're going to see what it all does. And what if that power grows so exponentially that you know that you're going to be a problem, so you blow yourself up, right? But because the government or whomever knows the existence of it, they're looking for other people who show signs of like brain waves that mark you out to be psychic. So what then? Well, if you find these 3 kids and you put them through rigorous testing to the point where like one's bedridden, one can't get around unless he's using his brain to push him around, and the other one escaped, like, of course they're going to look like ghouls. They're going to look like they haven't seen sunlight, that they, are stressed beyond measure, so that, whatever information can be gleaned to better serve society or serve your own dark purposes is done, right? So I think that's the reason why those kids look the way that they do.
yeah, okay, that makes sense. I figured it had to do something with their abilities, but yeah. But again, it's not remarked upon in the film. It just, everyone sees them and goes, whoa, what's wrong with those kids?
That kid looks like a fucking goblin. Holy shit. His teeth are yellow.
It's very jarring the first time we see
the
the one kid that's escaping in the beginning of the film that Tetsuo crashes into. Well, so we Kaneda and his gang get into like a fight with the clowns, another biker gang.
Yeah.
There's a great like high-speed chase on a bridge. And Tetsuo decides to chase down one of the guys.
Yeah, he wants to be tough. He's tired of being protected.
Right. Oh, you know what? So early on, when we first see Tetsuo, he is sitting in Kaneda's bike, like just observing how cool it is.
Yeah.
And how customized and everything it is. And when the rest of the gang is running up to jump on their bikes to go after the other gang, Kaneda chastises Tetsuo and says, like,
you'll kill yourself on this thing.
Yeah.
It's too fast for you.
And we immediately get the impression that, like, yes, they are friends and they're in the same gang, but like,
one's the alpha.
Tetsuo seems to be jealous of the hierarchy here.
Yeah.
And is envious of Kaneda's position in life, both because of his bike and because of his, leadership qualities, I guess, that he has in the gang, and his alphaness, if you will, although that's not a real thing. It's been disproven in science.
Are we going to do that? We're going to get into the whole thing? I knew it was going to happen.
I just don't want anybody to get like Shapiro pilled listening to this or something.
Oh, don't worry, dude. I'm going to continue dropping more, and you can't edit it all out, Jared.
Well, you got to adopt your Kermit voice if you're going to expose any, Jordan Peterson's bullshit on this.
Don't make me do it. Anyways, but yeah, he tries to take out 2 clowns to, kind of jockey for respect, and in the process of that,
because he's a bit stubborn and strong-headed.
Yeah,
and but in doing so, he crashes into one of the psychic children that just happens to be has been sprung from the government by, I guess, like a counter protester or one of those anti-government.
So it was an anti-government or an anti-Akira movement that is being funded by one of the chair members in the Japanese government. Is
that explained in the film?
Yes, it is.
My god!
It's a blink and you miss it scene.
Right.
I don't know what you would call the government, parliament,
when
whatever
he's meeting like the board of politicians or something.
Yeah,
right.
when the colonel is up there and talking to all the different people.
Right.
Because I texted you, I was like, oh, hey, Bernie Sanders is in there because like, we've got a bunch of money that these guys are wasting. What could we do? And one guy goes, well, we could, funnel it back into social services to, take care of the people or whatever. And I was like,
Yeah.
But one of the guys sitting there, he looks like a chipmunk. He's got, only 2 teeth on the front and his hair is slicked back. He's funneling money into the group that is being run by Ryu, who is overseeing K.
Is this the guy that once the colonel leads the coup d'etat,
yes,
he is like shoving papers, I guess it's like bonds or money into a briefcase, and then the guy comes in.
Ryu comes in.
Is he the leader? Okay.
Yeah.
Because he comes in to report, and then he just shoots him.
Yeah, the guy's like, you fucked me.
Yeah.
You fucked me. And he shoots him.
That makes that scene make a lot more sense now.
Yeah,
okay.
I know. So when the protest is happening and that one guy has the little gremlin kid and he is probably going to end up dying, he says, go find Ryu. He'll take care of you. And Ryu is also in the protest with Kei before they get split.
Right.
So yeah, Ryu, like that. Just this big disclaimer: this movie is based on like a 6-volume manga, and the movie only covers the beginning and the end of the manga, and none of the middle stuff. So like, there's characters that show up that have 15 seconds of screen time that are pivotal characters in the actual story.
Yeah,
and Otomo did not have enough time to flesh everything out, and I don't understand like how he could have even done it because this movie is 2 fucking hours long.
I was gonna say it's an anime that's 2 hours long, which is almost unheard of. Like I feel like most anime is like 80-90 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe pushing it a little more, over 100, but like it's 2 hours and 4 minutes. It's crazy. It's long as fuck.
Yeah, but anyway,
I was shocked by that when I looked at the runtime, and I've already seen it.
Right. So that's the whole ghoul thing. I mean, like we don't really have like. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we get Tetsuo gets
abducted.
But, they're researching him. He's in a hospital. Kaneda and his group get arrested.
That's right.
And he spots Kei, the girl,
resistance girl. Yeah,
I think she's roughly his age, so she's a teenage girl.
Yeah,
who is in the resistance movement, and Kaneda tries to say that like, hey, she's in my gang too. You gotta let us all go when they get released.
Yeah,
and she immediately flees and rejoins with the resistance movement, but Kaneda like follows her, and then he goes to school. They get all the gang has to go back to school. And it sucks. We see how rough the teachers are, and we understand why they rebel and don't want to be in there. And then Tetsuo breaks out of the hospital
for the first time
and runs away.
Yep.
And steals Kaneda's bike and decides and picks up his girlfriend
Reiko
and decides that he's going to just leave. Right? He's just leaving.
So yeah, they apparently because I missed this part, but apparently he and Reiko have a discussion about like, getting out of town, starting a new life and whatnot. But
as they're driving away, they get spotted by
the clown gang,
the rest of the clown gang.
Yeah, because they
who have a score to settle from the night before.
Yeah, they know what Kaneda's bike.
It's hard to miss. Yeah. So they chase him down and assault his girlfriend. It's rough.
They do terrible things. And
and then beat up Tetsuo.
Yeah,
and luckily Kaneda's friends, the rest of the gang, spot him taking off, so they jump in their bikes and go after him, and they catch up to the gang before things get too bad.
Yep.
And
but Tetsuo damn near kills one of the clowns.
Right. Tetsuo takes out his anger and
makes sense.
But that's when the government shows back up.
Yeah, like, hey, what are you doing? Get your ass back here.
They recapture Tetsuo and the pill gang or whatever, the capsule gang. Just watch as this happens.
Yeah. Because they can't do anything.
Right.
The kids.
It's funny how the adults are so much more larger and imposing compared to them. Because you're like, right, these guys are like 13, 14.
Yeah.
They're very young and small,
Yes.
Even though like for a lot of the film, they're the only characters on screen. And you don't really... And then the other characters are even smaller than them, the psychic
kids,
children. Yeah, because they're like... They look like they're 4 or 5.
I have no idea how old they are, but they talk like they're...
But they're very small compared to our teenage protagonists too. So then Tetsuo starts developing his psychic abilities.
Mm-hmm. And there's a doctor there who checks his brain waves and is like, these waves are very similar to Akira's.
Yeah.
We could have the next one.
That's when we start getting that.
Yeah.
And then I think it's explained that like he caused that explosion. And then I think that's when we see the colonel go down to underneath the Olympic Stadium. By the way, the Olympics are about to take place.
Yeah, in 2019. So I think that's the reason why people like pushed
The 2020 Tokyo Olympics, which got delayed because of COVID. But
not Akira.
So the film is set in 2019.
Yeah.
And they were building that stadium in the movie for the 2020 Olympics.
Yep.
That's what's so weird.
Yeah.
It's kind of eerie that happened.
I know. Well, so I went to Japan in 2018. So, and I walked past the place where they were going to have the Olympics.
Where they were working
it
on
was
it.
really cool.
Yeah.
And I wish I had seen this fucking movie. Because they'd been like, hey, Akira's under there.
He's like, hey, there's a throne in there. And if we sit on it, we're just going to keep growing and
That's
growing.
right. Dude, nothing can stop it.
But Tetsuo has his first run in with all three of the psychic children because they start messing with him. And I guess I thought they were trying to scare him, but apparently they're trying to kill him.
I forgot about that. So when I was talking about, different parts of this movie that are like beautiful to watch, these kids assume avatars based on like a car, a teddy bear, and a bunny.
Well, they just
also
possess toys that are in the room with him.
Yeah, but they become large versions of them as a collection of the toys.
Yes.
And the toys morphing into these things was a really cool
It's
scene to
so
watch.
cool to watch.
Yeah.
And like, again, because of the fluid animation, it's just so beautiful to look at.
But yeah, he has to square up with them and he's able to, like do force push and force deflect and whatnot.
But he's able to deter them entirely when he steps on glass and starts bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what,
maybe it's like a trauma response, like whatchamacallit, danger happens, and so your shit has to kick in real fast in order to like keep you alive.
Yeah. Well, that they back away and say, "Oh, gross," and they leave. And I was like, "Oh, I thought they were maybe they're just trying to scare him." Because
a little bit of hazing, yeah,
right. Because I thought they were trying to warn him, like, "Hey, you're too powerful. Like, don't get carried away
stop.
with this shit." Yeah. But anyway, he realizes that he's got psychic powers at this point too now. And then what happens?
Oh, it's a bunch of garbage. So like, it's not it's not garbage. It's a bunch of
we get more of the Colonel.
It's more of a Colonel. I think this is partially when they start telling him that you're spending too much fucking money.
Right. He's rubbing up against the politicians.
Yeah, and then you've got Kaneda trying to rizz up Kei, and like attempting to get into the resistance thing.
Right. He gets deeper and deper in with this anti-government group.
Mm-hmm. And then
really just because he wants to rescue Tetsuo and impress Kei.
And then so I think that's actually what happens next is
you're right.
They break into the facility and shit goes sideways real fast.
There's a pretty intense scene where as Kei and Kaneda are like in a sewer trying to get into this facility where Tetsuo is being held. Kei is attacked by two different like government forces officers. Yeah. And they have got their guns drawn. And Kaneda comes running down. She doesn't know he's following her, but he comes running down the sewer and jumps on top of one of them and knocks him out. But as Kaneda is like recovering in this like sewage, he's getting up. The other officer goes to shoot Kaneda.
Yeah.
And Kei, to prevent him from dying, shoots and kills that officer.
Shoots him right in the fucking mouth. And he's not dead immediately.
Right. Both of the guys are really fucked up, but not dead.
Yeah.
And Kei's obviously never done this before. He's very affected by it. And so Kaneda just climbs up and he goes, "Hey, we got to go. Come on."
They're dead, so we can leave.
Yeah. Well, also there's more guys coming because you hear people going like, "I heard shots down here."
That's right.
And so he like yanks her and he's like, "We have to go."
Yeah.
So they run. They end up capturing like a flying. What is that?
This is two different parts because they get away and then Ryu shows up and then they
meet back up with Ryu.
Yeah, they have a better plan on how to break Tetsuo out.
Right.
And so they're in the sewers and stuff and it smells really bad, what have you, and they think they're sneaking around, but oh no,
they get caught by a patrol, but he's on like a flying motorcycle looking thing.
Yeah, it's a floaty hoverboard hover machine with a Gatling gun on it.
Yeah, picture like a flying jet ski with a Gatling gun.
Yeah, that's exactly
what
it is.
And it kind of like just fucking jumps on it.
He jumps on it. He does the same thing that he did to the clown gang. He just jumps on it.
Right. And so him and Kei are able to use that to break into the facility. They just literally get on the elevator. So when they show up inside the facility, like the elevator opens up and there's just two guards like, "What the hell?" And they're just sitting there hovering, and then they just open up the thing. It's great.
Yeah. But while that's happening, Tetsuo is fighting those kids,
right?
Like IRL this time, like blowing stuff up, trying to get to the girl for whatever reason. I don't know why, her specifically. And that's when just bad stuff starts happening, you know.
I think he knows that she knows something that he wants because it ends up being
She
the
knows
location
where-
of Akira.
Yeah, she knows where
Because
Akira
he,
is.
for some reason, he's drawn to Akira. He doesn't know why, but he just keeps getting visions of it in his head. And he's like, you know where it is. And she's
right.
like, I won't tell you. And then he just reads it out of her mind.
Yeah, he rips it out of her fucking brain anyways.
And she is just like so surprised that he's able to do that.
He had to break the glass. The glass was
was it
getting
a
around
protective barrier
Yeah.
to her? Okay, that's why.
but yeah, the colonel shows up and he's like, "Oh, you got to stop." And he's like, "No, fuck you. I'm out of here." And then he starts leaving and killing guards. It's very reminiscent of. Have you ever seen the anime Elfen Lied?
No, but I was thinking of Stranger Things because he's doing the 11 thing where he's in like a very tight corridor filled with like guards and doctors, and he just like obliterates them.
Okay, I got to tell you about this anime, right?
Yeah.
The first like 7 minutes is the exact same thing. A person is escaping from an underground bunker and just murdering guards. But the character in this, she has invisible arms that are paper thin that can like sever body parts and whatnot.
Yeah.
It is fucking gruesome, but it's awesome. It's a really well done scene. So that I was like, oh, clearly Elfen Lied, ripped this right out of Akira, just made it more violent.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he breaks out and then
as he's gets what he needs and he's about to leave and he's just fighting off the guards. That's when Kaneda
shows
show up.
and then he's like, "Hey, I'm here to rescue you." And Tetsuo was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah. And he starts letting out that like he's like, "You can't you don't need to show up and rescue me anymore. Like I am more powerful than anybody now. Fuck you."
Yeah.
He's so mad. He starts letting out all of his pent up rage
yeah.
at Kaneda at this point. And basically makes a big mess of the place and just fucks off to go get Akira.
Yep.
And that's when he goes topside. He's on the street level.
Yeah.
And
oh, what a cool scene to introduce him. Are you going to talk about the helicopter?
Oh,
because like
is that before or after the cape that he made?
This is before the cape.
Okay,
yeah.
Go into this. Yeah.
Oh man, so like the scene is so innocuous. It's just like a bunch of people at a guard stop or whatever. Like they've blocked off the road,
right?
And it's a bunch of dudes in tanks.
And we see scenes like this
all the time,
the whole film.
Yeah.
So it's just like presumed that like traffic is always fucked because there's demonstrators or just government forces on the streets, like all kinds of crazy shit happening.
And so this pedestrian is like yelling at this guy in a tank, and he's like, "What the fuck's going on?" and stuff. And then like everything goes quiet, and you see a helicopter just lose shit and hits the ground.
Yeah, just flying, crashing downwards, and then crashes into a skyscraper.
And it's just like, whoa, what the fuck's going on? And then they're out of the smoke. Boom, there's Akira, and he like. I want to say that tank tries to take a shot at him and he fucking blocks it.
So
and then he gets the cape, right?
I want to back up a little bit. So as we see Tetsuo walking out of the explosion, I think T2 Terminator 2 borrowed the T1000 walking out of the explosion of the semi truck from this.
Yeah, probably,
because he is completely unharmed, but you can tell his skin is like it looks different while he's in the flames, and when he walks out, he's completely unhinged, or unsinged, or anything.
Yeah,
and I think they borrowed that for the T1000 and T2. But yeah, he's just menacingly walking slowly towards the camera. It's incredible. And everyone, it cuts to everyone else watching going, whoa.
Oh, what the fuck's going on?
And then the tank is ordered to fire at him. And they're like, at this kid?
Yes,
are you sure?
Right. Yeah, are you sure?
And they finally, okay. And then they fire the cannon. And we see the cannon. It's like a giant bullet just comes flying out. And then Tetsuo just stops it in front of him like Neo from the Matrix. And it just freezes. And then he just has it explode, innocuously in front of him.
Yeah.
It's something incredible. Okay, this movie loves detail because it doesn't just explode and create a single color crater in the street.
No,
it takes out chunks of the sidewalk and the street. And what do we see? We see sewer pipes. We see electrical, wires running underneath the street.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that I really latch onto. I just think it's so great. And it's a nothing scene, but it just adds to the character, the detail of this movie.
Right.
But anyway.
But yeah, then he gets like a red cape.
Right. So like the glass display of like something, a building nearby has blown open, and he walks over to it, rips out this beautiful red, I don't know if it's a curtain or what.
I think it was like possibly, it might have been a curtain. I think it was a curtain.
Right. It's like drapes or something. And he just rips it down and then just ties it over his neck. And it forms a cape.
Yep.
And that's what he's wearing the rest of the movie. And it's awesome.
That's fucking rad. But yeah, he ends up blowing up the.
So he becomes evil Superman at this
Yes.
point.
And he blows up the tank. Like it tries to hit him again, and he picks it up and crushes it.
Right.
And kills a bunch of civilians that are around it and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's when they're like, "Oh fuck, we got to get out of here."
Right.
And now ensues him versus the army and a bunch of people dying in the background and stuff via the government that are shooting at him or him fucking up and accidentally killing people.
A lot of collateral damage.
This is where we get the soul thing. This is where we get the final fight.
Yeah, because he gets all the way to the they drop a bomb on him too, don't they?
Do they? I don't know. Possibly.
There's a huge explosion. They think they hit him, but he just left, and he all of a sudden he's at the stadium. And the guards protecting the stadium just go, "What is that?" off in the distance by the explosion, and it's just kind of just walking up to them. Or Tetsuo, excuse me.
Yeah.
So Tetsuo gets to the stadium. I don't even think we see him dispatch the guards there. They're just gone. I think it just cuts to they're just in ruins.
Yeah.
And he's like at the bottom of the thing, and he rips out the capsule that has the remains of Akira inside and is disappointed. The colonel is like in some kind of like APC that rolls up.
Oh, that's right. And that's when he calls in the soul thing. And that's when they don't know if they hit him
well,
or
he's
not.
Yelling over the loudspeaker. He's like, disappointed. Those are just the remains of Akira.
He's not even alive.
Yeah. That's just for scientists to study him,
You idiot. You fucking fool. But yeah, while all this is happening, Kaneda meets up with Yamagata because we forgot, Tetsuo goes back to the bar and
That's right. I skipped that.
Apparently there's drug abuse in the manga that they just completely skip over in this one.
They talk about it
a little bit,
but they talk about how they know the bartender is selling drugs.
Yeah.
But it's like they don't ever talk about it again. Then when Tetsuo shows up there, he's like mad about it.
He's like, "I want the drugs.
Yeah,
give me all of the drugs, please." And he's like, he's chewing on them whenever Yamagata and Kai show up.
So was there like a jarring transition for you in the bar when he's talking to the bartender?
Yes.
The bartender starts explaining how they're more expensive, and then he turns around and it just kind of cuts to black.
Yeah.
I thought something was wrong with my disc, but that's how it is.
Yeah, how it is, yeah.
I wonder if they cut something there or if it was meant to be jarring because like obviously something bad is about to happen here.
I don't think that they did cut anything because I want to say that this movie was able to get around US censorship.
Right.
Whereas like, once again, I bring up Nausicaa.
Yeah.
Nausicaa lost 25 minutes of footage. And apparently there's like 2 characters on the poster that you never see in the movie because they were cut out.
I didn't read anything while researching this movie about having to like get things around censors or to edit footage, but I do know that Studio Ghibli had issues with like, especially in their international releases, like having to edit things.
I gotcha.
And there's like a famous story about how when Harvey Weinstein, Satan himself, he was in charge of distribution too, and at one point in the 90s, I think it was, I forget what film it was. But it was one of their films, Studio Ghibli, and when it was coming to America, Harvey Weinstein had final say on it, and he was like, "I want you to cut like this scene and this scene." He's like, "You got to shorten this up," and they sent a katana, Studio Ghibli, to Harvey Weinstein, and engraved on the blade was "No cuts."
Oh, that's sick! I wonder if it was Princess Mononoke.
I have to look up. Maybe I'll drop it in and edit it when I'm doing this later.
That one came out in 97.
Okay.
So, and that movie's like very anti-capitalist and like very eco-fascist, not eco-fascist, but eco-terrorism one.
I own this. I haven't seen it.
Oh man,
I'm gonna.
That's my favorite. Ghibli movie.
Hey there, listener. This is Jared from the future dropping in to say that Will was correct. It was Princess Mononoke that this happened on. However, Miyazaki wasn't the one who sent the sword. It was one of his producers, but he did confirm the story in an interview. Okay, thanks. Bye. So we talked about the soul canon a lot. That pretty much happens at this point.
Yeah.
Then we have, Kaneda and Tetsuo start going at it. He's got the laser rifle.
Arm.
Yeah. Then he merges with like the metal. He makes like a metal arm. But then because he's done that, I think his powers start to take over and he can't control himself.
That's right.
And he just starts becoming this gigantic blob.
Mm-hmm. It's the want and need to have more power as a consumption makes his body consume and assimilate.
And maybe it's not stated or anything.
No, it's not.
Because I made a joke on the Ghost in the Shell episode that in anime, like the subtext is text and like they tell, don't show. And Akira is the complete opposite of that. It really is.
They don't tell you shit.
No, a lot of things are implied or just left out for the sake of time because, like you said, they're trying to adapt 6 volumes
I think it's
of a
6
manga,
volumes,
and they
yeah.
really just do 1 and 6 or something. Yeah.
They do 1 and 6, and like the beginning of 1 and the end of 6.
So what I think is happening here is on a molecular level, he is multiplying at a rate that he can no longer control. And
that makes sense because
that's what I think is happening.
No,
Yeah.
they do talk about like what came before time, like what came before the Big Bang, and
Yes.
they talk about like from a molecular level from that point forward onward, we have like all of the memories inside of us from the beginning of time, and what happens when we reach a certain point. Like, do we have all the shared memories of the first amoeba or whatever?
Right.
So like, I could absolutely see an argument that his body is reverting back to a single-celled organism that is consuming, or
I think all the cells in his body are
Yeah.
just mass producing at a rate that he can't control because he's become too powerful,
Right.
and they're taking over maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, in order to stop it, the other 3 psychic children
Bring the soul of Akira back.
right, and so we just see like this little boy, and he creates it. At first glance, when I was watching it, I thought it was an explosion.
I also thought it was an explosion.
But if you read about it, it's a singularity. It's explained
yeah.
in the manga, I guess, that it's a singularity.
Yeah.
And because even the scientist refers to it as like, these measurements are basically that this is the Big Bang.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Before he gets crushed.
Apparently that's what it is. Because
Okay.
I don't know a lot about quantum physics, but
I don't know shit. I'm dumb. I'll be the first one to say I'm dumb as fuck.
there is maybe a double-digit number of people on Earth that could truly explain
Right.
to you what a singularity is.
Yeah.
But it is essentially a large explosion that is, transporting the people inside to a different universe, essentially. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
To put it into very layman's terms, essentially.
Did they get... Hold on. I want to pause real quick. Did
Yeah.
they get Reiko out of Tetsuo? Tetsuo's girlfriend? She's like the first one that's consumed. Did they get her out of her there?
No, we watch her die.
Damn, that sucks.
Because he's
crushing her.
as Tetsuo is expanding, we cut to like an inside view of Kaneda like being, smushed, I
Yes.
guess, and struggling. And Tetsuo is yelling at Kaneda. He's like, "You have to save is Reiko?
Reiko.
He's like, "You have to save Reiko. Like she's stuck in here and I can't get her out. She's dying." And then we just watch her like struggling and then turn into like a pool of blood, basically.
Oh fuck! I didn't
Yeah,
catch
she's
that
done.
part. I must have.
That's
I had
why-
to get up a couple times.
Oh yeah,
That might have been it.
that's why I think she doesn't get rescued by the 3 kids.
Gotcha.
Kaneda does
That makes
because
sense.
somehow he's still alive, but he manages to
He gets
shoot
out.
his way out.
Yeah, because that thing is very adverse to like high focused energy.
Whatever that laser rifle is shooting, it cuts right through
Yeah.
Tetsuo's body, even when he's like this bulbous
A flesh
mass of like a
monster.
kaiju. Yeah. Because he just starts firing that thing on like overload.
He's going hard.
Yeah, it's a great scene. He's just able to rip himself out of this like viscera. It's disgusting.
So cool.
Yeah, then the singularity happens, and the kids warp the colonel out of there because he was kind of like a father figure to them.
And he's anti-imperialist. Those kids were all tankies too.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
But they warp him away, and then I don't think we ever see him again after
Nope,
that.
we don't.
They tell him to run under the bridge, but we
Yeah,
don't even
protect
see him
himself.
do it.
No.
Presumably he survives, though. And then they decide to like, hey, we should go in and get Kaneda. Like he doesn't deserve this fate.
Yeah.
And they're like, we probably won't come back. And they're like, that's okay. And then they go in there and then like warp Kaneda out of there.
Yeah.
And then they start. So we see what Tetsuo is seeing while he's in the singularity, if you will,
Kaneda
the
and
explosion.
Tetsuo.
Right. And
Yeah.
they're just reliving Tetsuo's like early childhood. Like we're seeing him like his first day of school and like him being bullied, and then how like Kaneda like he gets beat up by the bullies too, and then goes over and like starts befriending Tetsuo.
Yeah, he gets a toy, one of Tetsuo's toys back from the bullies.
That's what that was. I
Yeah.
thought he was just bringing one over,
Nah.
but like he clearly got beat the fuck up too, and
Well,
I think it's because he like got himself involved.
Yeah, he fought them.
Yeah.
He's like he took a couple punches, but then he's like the thing is you have to stand up to them because they're cowards.
Right. But yeah, and it's great. We see like why they were friends and like
Yeah.
how they actually had some good times together, even
Yeah.
though there was a lot of animosity, I guess, from Tetsuo to Kaneda.
When you hit puberty, shit gets kind of crazy. When you have no father figure or mother figure or any parental figures, and you're trying to figure all this stuff out,
And you're
on your
growing
own.
up in a fucked up town.
Yeah, exactly.
That was like had the bomb dropped on it when you were born.
You don't have time for therapy. You don't have time to like offload all of these problems that you have. You don't have the tools to tell your friend that, stop standing up for me, man. How am I going to be able to grow as a person if you don't stop fucking defending me?
Right.
That kind of stuff. Like, you don't have those tools.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Exactly. And that's, I was going to say that's most anime, but
It's
that's
true.
rude.
No, you're right.
And then Kaneda gets pulled out of there and sent outside of the explosion.
Mm-hmm.
And he meets back up with Kay
and Kai.
Kai, the other surviving member of his gang.
Yeah.
And they just get on their bikes and roll
Fuck
off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's beautiful.
Another day in
But then we see
Mhm.
it's like an abstract illustration.
Mm-hmm.
And I later read that it's just a animation test, but they put
but they put it in there anyways.
But they put it in the end of the film because it kind of felt
Yeah.
like I don't know. What is happening there? We just see a bunch of circles, basically.
I don't know, dude. Because as it ended, I was like, all right, cool. That was Akira. And I turned it off. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, never mind.
Sorry.
Well, we hear the kids talking again, don't we?
Maybe.
Okay,
I'm
never
gonna be-
mind. I'll cut this out.
It was 2 hours and 23 minutes.
It is long. You're ready for it to end when they're yelling, Kaneda! Tetsuo!
Yeah.
Kaneda!
Pretty much, yeah.
Well,
what did you think about this movie?
I think it's great. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
It is maybe... I don't know if it... I don't want to say it'd be better condensed. I do want to know the whole story, but I feel like...
Can I offer you something? Because I know how much...
Do you have 6 volumes of the manga in your back pocket?
No, I've got something better than that. I know how much you and Courtney like The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
There is a webcomic called Akira.
Oh, I think I've seen this.
Where they do the manga Akira,
Yeah.
but with all Simpsons characters. And
Oh.
Milhouse is Kaneda.
Wait.
And Bart is Tetsuo.
That doesn't make sense.
I know it doesn't, does it?
It's definitely the other way around.
I know, but it's not.
Like Milhouse could definitely be Tetsuo.
I don't know, but you can pull it up, but I'm almost positive that Bart is Tetsuo and Milhouse is Kaneda. If they're swapped, who cares? It's called Akira. Check it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I figured you'd like that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to look this up.
Mm.
That's great.
I also like this movie.
So it's like a webcomic?
It's a webcomic.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
somebody decided to just redo Akira as The Simpsons.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to look that up later. So you did like it.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Was it purely because of the animation?
Yeah.
Because I find the plot
the plot was
intriguing, but just obtuse.
Yeah.
I want more. I want background.
Well, when they finally get that live action one finished, finally, after all these years, when they finally get Leonardo DiCaprio to be Kaneda,
God,
maybe we'll get it finally.
I don't think that's ever going to happen because it's just going to be so hard to put on film. But if it does, we're not going to be better for it.
What if it was directed by what's his name? Whose name I've already forgotten? No, the guy who did Nope.
Jordan Peele.
What if Jordan Peele did it?
It doesn't. I don't think he would do it. I don't think he's interested in doing
Akira slide. So
yeah, but that's not the same thing as making an entire.
It's
adaptation.
essentially the same thing.
No, it's not.
It's essentially the same thing.
I don't think that he's interested in doing like adaptations. I think he wants to do his own scripts.
I know,
but anyway,
just fucking around.
I just don't see the point. And I saw that like Sony talked about it seriously for a long time, but the budget, like they were like, in order to do this, we would need such a large budget, and I think it reached like 600 million, and they're like, no, we're not doing this because it would not recoup the amount of money it would take.
No, absolutely not. They wouldn't.
Live action anime adaptations just seem so pointless.
Alita was great. Fuck you. Alita Battle Angel was the shit.
Oh,
that movie's so good, and you can eat shit for.
I haven't seen it.
Oh god damn it, Jared!
And it's Robert Rodriguez. I love him.
I know.
Granted, his output lately has been weird.
Yeah.
Ever since Machete, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Alita's really good though.
I do want to see that. I heard it's great.
I love it.
Is it an anime?
Yeah, Alita's an anime. Oh fuck! I forgot to even mention how I learned of Akira. I did not. I didn't know about Akira until I watched this thing called AMV Hell.
Oh,
Have you seen those?
No.
Anime music video hell. There's like 3 or 4 of them,
Yeah.
and they basically take a bunch of clips from different animes
Yeah.
and put them to stuff, and like a bunch of the Akira clips are in those things, and I was like,
Oh.
oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have no idea what that is, and then like years later, I'm like, oh, okay, it's this old movie that I've never seen that I don't care about until 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But there is a scene in AMV Hell that I want to say the song is the I Will Always Love You, the Titanic song.
Oh, wow.
And it's playing over a scene from Alita that no shit is in the live action movie. And if I've ever Leo memed at anything, it was that I was like, oh my fucking God, I saw this a decade ago. And it's here. This is what it's from.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna ruin because it's a huge spoiler.
Okay.
But god damn it, dude.
Yeah.
It's an old 80s anime.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I will get around to watching it one day.
It's good.
I keep trying to get a hold of the 4K Steelbook, but
Yeah, you let me know. I'll watch that with you. We don't have
Yeah.
to talk about it on here, obviously, because
Yeah.
Hollywood. But
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed it. So
I hear it looks really good on 4K too.
oh, I bet.
Yeah. Well, folks, thank you for listening. You can find our show on social media by searching for @DebaserPod. I'm Jared Rusk, and you can find me on Instagram @solid_slack. Will, where can people find you? And do you have anything to plug?
You can find me on Instagram @pocket_infinity. Nothing to plug.
No.
Join the guild, please. I need more people to kill things so that I can get more stuff. So Tacticus.
That's Warhammer 40K
Hey,
Tacticus on your mobile devices, if you so choose.
Not
to.
a paid ad. Snow
They need
print,
to be paying you at this point, Will.
Snowprint, fucking reach out. Give me my influencer code.
It's disgusting that you are like routinely
I just
plugging this game.
I do it because it's funny.
Don't you have like a like an event you can plug or?
I'm gonna plug Crucible. Crucible is a Warhammer GT. Not just Warhammer though. It's also Age of Sigmar. It's Pathfinder, D&D, all sorts of tabletop role-playing games. Road Trader is not in that, but I'm glad that you know what that is now.
Yeah.
It's actually being a part of this larger convention called QuestCon.
Okay.
It's going to be at the whatever hotel that Spooky Empire is at. That's where it's going to be this year.
Okay.
I'm going to be one of the tournament organizers for the 40K GT. Please stop by, come and see. Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. Crucible is like a staple. It was my first GT I ever went to. I was
wow.
22.
Yeah.
So it's been around for a very long time,
Yeah.
and big fan.
What city is this held in?
Orlando.
It's Orlando. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're not even flying for it. That's
Nope.
good.
I'm gonna do a little drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be
Beautiful.
great.
All right. Debaser is hosted by Will Taylor and Jared Rusk, with production by Jared Rusk. Want to email the show? Send it to podcast@debaserpod.com. Want to help us out? Please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice, especially Apple Podcasts, and tell a friend to listen to Debaser. Thank you for listening, and take care out there.
No, leave me alone. Ding. Ah. Ding. Akira.